Hello, SGD, Sacred Geometry Decoded, and this will be part 10 in the series, The Science of the Symbols. And throughout this series, with a focus on Athanasius Kircher, this famous scholar, Jesuit, polymath, Renaissance man, and it has been using this as a focus to begin with. And also I've been using this one as well, so you got the canvas leaf, cornucopia, plumb lines, and just so, for instance, earlier episodes I mentioned the ruler and the plumb line and how it is all throughout here, but now we'll be going a little bit different. And so our previous episode I talked about the eye and how it's found in this drawing, and well, so many others throughout. So I'm using Kircher as an example of the hermeticists of this period, but they were using ancient themes, for instance, the cornucopia and, well, these ancient tools, the plumb line, the ruler, which go back in very, very long time, back to the origins of recorded civilization. But now with a focus on in this box here, and in this one here, so like we saw this eye there with the 7 points and these 7 symbols. Now I just zoom them up. So in this one it's a bit harder to make out, but we do see the same sets of symbols here. For instance, that one, and that's upside down there, but what is it? That's the symbol for Mercury, the planet Mercury, but also the element of Mercury as well. Now this is another one of Kircher's, Ars Magna Lucius et Umbrae. Now it has the same themes running through it. Now, for instance, we focus on that part there, the caduceus, symbol of Mercury. The wand is another term for it, and it is an emblem. It's an ancient symbol for measurement, tools of measure. The wand literally translates to the measuring rod or the reed, just like you find the descriptions in the description or the New Jerusalem. But we also have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 symbols in there which are matching these symbols, but also these. However, there's only 5, so what we want is 7 around there, but we only have 5. Well, it's still in there as well, because these 2 symbols, which is the sun and the moon, also still a symbol for hydrogen as well, but the sun and the moon are not in here, but we do find them because we have Artemis, or Diana, the moon goddess, and her twin brother Apollo, the sun god, the sun and the moon. So even though that caduceus there only has 5, well, the symbol itself has, this image itself has the sun and the moon. So we have these complete 7 symbols in here. This is another Kircher drawing. What do we have? We have the same set of symbols in here as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And there's also an 8th there, but that's something else, and we'll get to that eventually, because just like this, we began with that first drawing of Kircher, and now we see from the center, but they all move out. But that's this 8th symbol is something else, and we'll get to that. But the sun and the moon and these are the symbols of the planets. Mercury, the planet Mercury, we have still the symbol for female is Venus. Oh, sorry, that's Mars, the symbol for the male. And we have Venus symbol. Now usually the female symbol has the arrow pointed up, but just because that's just, you need to twist that around. We also have Jupiter and Saturn. So we have Sun, Earth, Moon, Mars, Venus, Jupiter, and Saturn. And those, of course, are embedded there. But now we'll be having a look from another same period, 1916. Stephan Michelspacher in this drawing here. And so what do we have around the outside? A zodiac. This, of course, is the zodiac, the 12 signs of the zodiac here on Kircher. And Kircher's drawing again. What do we have? The 12 signs of the zodiac. So it's astronomy, but also this Apollo here. We have the 12 signs of the zodiac sort of tattooed onto his body, as well as where Artemis has stars drawn. And as well, so that's a nice connection there. Also on, back to those original ones. Now, for instance, the zodiac signs, even we have the 12 months there as well. So zodiac signs here. Zodiac signs are shown, and the zodiac there as well. So here we get the 12 signs again. And back to Stephan Michelspacher. So again, a Hermeticist from this period, is using these same emblems and symbols. That's original. There's been like a reprint of, and this is also one of his drawings, and we'll come to that in the future, but just for this episode now. This drawing is called Alchymia. It's alchemy. Now we have the 4 elements, as they're called: fire, ignis, aeris, air, terra, earth, and aqua, water. So fire, earth, air, and water. Now there we see that's the alchemical symbols most often used for these elements, and it's a nice connection to the platonic solids, the 5 platonic solids, because the tetrahedron represents fire, octahedron air, the cube or earth is earth, and the icosahedron is water. Now the amount of degrees in there is a cool little connection, because now we include heaven, the tetrahedron. So the tetrahedron, octahedron, and icosahedron are just equilateral triangles in one form or another. Then we get to the cube, which is earth, but the dodecahedron requires pentagons, which is you need to understand phi, and that's like sun and the moon as well. So in this ancient symbolism, and as well the stars around the outside: sun, earth, sun, moon, and stars. As then, yeah, 3-sided triangles to the 4-sided square for the cube, and then to the 5-sided dodecahedron: 3, 4, 5. Now, interesting point about the platonic solids is, so just like the octahedron, air is 1440 degrees, 8 times 180 degrees, which make up those 8-sided figures. Well, if you add them all up together, you get 14,400. And in Rosicrucian tradition, there are 144 octaves. So you can, this picture I took from his Rosicrucian manual, 144 octaves, repeated 144 times. That's in 1008, this very auspicious number as well. But also there are 144 elements in the Rosicrucian tradition. Rosicrucians also have a cycle of 108 years of going silent, coming active, going silent, but that's something else. Now, back to this Stephan Michelspacher picture, and do a comparison here to what's called the Alchemia, Michelspacher, but the Azoth of the philosophers. It's a direct reference to alchemy in the Philosopher's Stone. This is same period, 1659, Dennis William Houck. And, well, we have the same things going on there now. Well, the 7 points, which, give you, so just like we have the 7 figures here, we have the 7 points around there representing moon, the sun, Venus, Mercury, Mars, Saturn, and Jupiter as well there. And that's okay. But now Azoth, so we have the mercurial symbol. Now at the top of that pyramid there, who do we have? We have Hermes, winged feet, winged helmet, carrying the caduceus. This symbol, ancient symbol of weights and measures. Now here's pretty much your standard alchemical image from the old time. So what do we have? We have the symbol for Mercury, which is also represented very similar to the caduceus, which literally what it is, and the sun and the moon there as well. Now, what is Azoth? Azoth is Mercury. It's considered the first principle of metals. It comes from the Arabic word al-akby, which means Mercury. Now, if you've heard the term gibberish, comes from the famous Arabic alchemist who the West knows as Geber. Now, I forget his Arabic name, but Geber, that's where we got the word gibberish from. That's it. But anyway, Mercury is, or Azoth is considered the essential agent of transformation, which is so important in the Philosopher's Stone. Now, what the Philosopher's Stone is in the alchemical tradition is completely different to what it is in the Hollywood Harry Potter type of traditions. Now, there are connections to it, but as we'll see future episodes, it's much more complex than that, and it's become So just like with the eye and Hollywood and all these, they just ruin these things. Now that symbol, Mercury, the Roman god Mercury, the planet Mercury, but that comes from Hermes. Hermes in Greek, Mercury in Roman, and that's where we get the word hermeticism from. Now that's important because both Mercury and Hermes were gods of weights and measure, of travelers, of navigation, trickster gods as well, very much in the same vein as Thoth, the ancient Egyptian god of weights and measures, who also carried two rods with two rods, a snake around each, but Upper and Lower Egypt, each of them had a snake. Snake also being this ancient symbol of knowledge, of wisdom, very much like Adam and Eve and eat the fruit type of stuff. They become aware. They understood. They were innocent and essentially dumb. And then when they ate the apple, they become aware of themselves. They become conscious. It's described as a fall from grace. Yeah, but they were simple. Everything was taken care for them in the garden. They become human. They become aware. They become intellectual once they ate the fruit. So now also worth of note. I'll get to that now. So there's this symbol is for Venus, but the way they've drawn this symbol is a version of arsenic. But okay, that's before we get ahead of ourselves. But Hermes, hermeticism, Mercury or Azoth having this special place in alchemy, being the first principle. But they're also the gods of weights and measures. They also represent the planet Mercury, and even the term mercurial to mean mysterious or have depth to it. So a lot of these phrases as well have also been embedded into the language. Now, back to this image, the sun and the moon having a very significant place. Now, okay, so on this drawing, so what do we have? Diana or Artemis, the moon goddess. We also, and the king, the sun king, also anima and spiritus, the sun and the moon. But also in this drawing, but I've enlarged it here. What do we have? The sun and the moon again, and this alchemical wedding, as it's called, where the fusion of the male and the female together. And the sun represents, in alchemical, it represents gold. The sun is gold, and the moon is silver. And so silver and gold, which is also known as electrum. So the king Croesus was the first who found out how to separate electrum, the gold and the silver, to make pure gold, and that's why Croesus is still did a video on that anyway. Mammon, Croesus, and the alchemical knowledge is very, very important. Alchemy also extends to medicinal use, to glass making dyes, especially in the ancient world. Color had very important significance, especially purple and blue being very expensive and usually connected to royalty. So still now the kings and queens will have a lot of purple on them because it's a royal color, or sacre bleu, sacred blue, especially in pictures, older Christian art, especially of Mary was, yes. But this it's a very important. Now it's just called industrial chemistry or chemistry. But the alchemists weren't just doing, let's just pardon the expression, hocus pocus. They were actually metallurgic, to make swords, to design temples, to make chisels, and every element of life was touched by alchemy / chemistry. Now, alchemy became chemistry, and it was just artificial line drawn in the sand with the Royal Society. The earliest official chemists, non-pseudoscience, alchemy is pseudoscience, chemistry is non-pseudoscience, but the early days of chemistry, they were still pseudoscientific, so let's just speak. So again, this has been polluted a little bit. Okay, so these drawings, illustrations, again, carry information written in a symbolic sense, especially because, well, passing on information more through symbols rather than in pure text and diagrams, etc., as we do now. But also the multiple connections. So we have the 7 figures there, 7 around the outside, and what they represent is So we've already shown, so the sun and the moon, the sun and the moon, as we saw there, but now the so Venus, Mars, the sun, Mercury, Moon, Jupiter, Saturn. These are astronomical references. They're also alchemical references. They're also direct references to God. So, for instance, Jupiter, or as he was called, Zeus, and the lightning bolt. And you can see, so that male, female, male, female, female, male, female. Well, especially like the rebus, if in alchemy, the fusion of male and female elements, it's an important one. But Venus is Aphrodite, so that the goddess of love. Mars, the planet, is also the god of war, who represents iron, for instance. The sun, Apollo. Mercury, Hermes, Mercury, the element and the planet. The moon, Artemis, in Greek, or Diana, the moon goddess. Jupiter, Zeus, or Saturn, Kronos. Even see with the scythe and the baby, which is again a direct reference to the Titans and how Jupiter or Zeus overthrew Saturn and the eating of the babies, and then the cornucopia. So I don't know. It just keeps coming back, these Hermetic references, and we see the same thing here. The Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, which also correspond to planets and also elements, alchemical elements, as chemistry as well. Now also fire, air, earth and water are represented in this drawing as well. I'll get to those later. But the sun and the moon as well. Now, these are, well, the Venus, the female symbol, Mars, the male symbol. Sorry, now I always get those two confused. But yeah, so even you can imagine that's a very male thing going on there. But yeah, sun, Moon, Jupiter, and Saturn. So these are still the symbols for the planets, but also they have references to elements. So Venus is copper. Copper is a beautiful and a soft metal, female in that sense. Now Mars, the god of war, so Venus the god of love, Mars the god of war. Iron is his element, hard and warlike. Okay, now the sun for gold. Now this is also the symbol for hydrogen, so connected to the hydrogen and the sun. The symbol for Mercury, the element and the planet. You can see it's caduceusy, as I'd say. The moon, silver, by the light of a silvery moon. Okay, Jupiter and tin. Saturn and lead. Now plum, that's the word plumbing, comes from the word lead. Also the plumb line, which is a reference mentioned earlier episodes, but again they correspond to the old gods, they correspond to the planets, and they correspond the visible planets. So since then we've Uranus and Ceres, which are both also named after old gods. But well, maybe whether they that's something else. But at least to the naked eye, the sun, the moon, the earth, Saturn, Jupiter, etc., are visible, observable. They were measured going back quite some time. Now this will again blends together, so the quadrivium: arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy. Now, geometry has aspects to music. Music has aspects to astronomy. Astronomy has aspects to geometry, geometry, earth, measure, and so they all blend together. So even these four separate disciplines actually feed into one another, and they blend. So you learn one, you learn them all. And what really unites them is hermeticism, or Hermes, Mercury, because they are the gods of weights and measures. Now, whether it's astronomy, music, geometry, you need weights and measures. Now, even the ancient systems of weight and the ancient systems of measure incorporate astronomical, geometric, musical, and through arithmetic, beautiful sets of knowledge. Now, this will, of course, also applies to alchemy, or chemistry. Okay, so when you're doing chemistry, weights and measures are essential, including time. So that I mentioned the pendulum. When you're mixing, you need to have an accurate count. You want to count. Timing is an important feature in these things as well. And you want a standard unit of time. You want a standard unit of weight, and you want a standard unit of measure to do all these things, and all of them come and blend together through these symbols. So it's not just mysticism. There is a it's not just about the old legends. It's the symbols, the legends incorporate knowledge, and it's a wonderful way of blending them in a symbolic sense, so many other aspects. And so you have astronomy and all these things coming together, and as you can see, these guys who were the modern sciences, as we know, were built on the foundation stone of the work of people such as Kircher, Michelspacher, who themselves not rediscovered, published ancient knowledge, because these are ancient symbols, the ancient gods, the ancient astronomy, ancient alchemy, metallurgy, glass making, dyes, medicines. This goes back to Sumer and ancient Egypt as well. Of course, because we don't have as well in Sumer, we have some good records. In Egypt, no, not so much. But through the way of it, units of measure and weight come together, it's dead set. It's just really a pathology that we've been, terms like alchemy has become a dirty word, or it's become a fictional, wand waving, lightning, Jedi power type of stuff. And well, we've lost it, but there is a hard base. So geometry, music, arithmetic, and astronomy blending together to do these much deeper aspects as well. So yes, the Hermeticists of the 15th, 16th, 17th centuries, going back to ancient traditions, now through the works of Vitruvius and other ancient writers. So the Renaissance, the Enlightenment, and the scientific industrial revolution was born from this. It was not it's from this, and this is a really sad thing in regards to the mindset of the education system and the way that these images and these guys are treated, because they were the foundation. They still are the foundation stone of this, and we really haven't moved away from it. We've just become there's a new dogma surrounding the new modern materialist, and because it's incorporating gods, it's just you just can't talk about it because there's gods there, and somehow it's going to lead into all sorts of religion and whatever. But ancient sets of weights and measures, this old knowledge, and it really is there now. Lots more to come on this, because I'll be going through, but through Kircher and exploring this a lot more. This part is really an introduction to the next. Basically, the next set of videos will be a sub-series in this larger series. And again, Hermeticism, weights and measures, a quadrivium, and looking at chemistry, or alchemy, the bad name that it has, but it is a hard science. It's just become, there's a lot of dogma going around this, and the new fashionable. I won't say the word anyway. With that, hope you enjoyed. Have a good one. A lot more to come.